Hi, guys, and welcome back to the Mind, Body, and Happiness podcast. I'm really excited here to be with Mike Dales. Met Mike not so long back, actually, into 2023 on a training course, which was absolutely awesome. And I got the pleasure of meeting Mike and also started having a chat about his book find time for exercise, which I have started. Thanks for sending this over, Mike. I'm just getting into it. I've had it just over a week. I'm really enjoying it. It's really, really powerful stuff. And I wanted to have a conversation around the book and with Mike to really kind of help people to break down some of the barriers that they may be facing if they want to make positive choices and changes to their lifestyle, and really start to see exercise in a different way, a more empowering way. And Mike, I'm sure he's going to go into this in a lot greater detail. So over to you, Mike. Give us a little bit more information and detail around your background and the powerful role exercise has had on your life, and you go into that in the book, which is awesome. But share a little bit with the listeners around your journey into exercise and becoming healthier.
Yeah, hi John. Thanks for that introduction, and thanks for having me on. And it was great meeting you back in October or whenever it was last year that we got together and had a chat about this. So yes, just to sort of fill listeners in on where I'm coming from on this. I'm in my 60s now, and I've always been into exercise, sport, and so on in different ways. And mainly in the outdoors. I'm a mountaineer, a sea kayaker, runner, cyclist, climber, um, and a bit of basketball and cricket and football and so on thrown in amongst all of that.
Bit of everything.
Bit of everything. But mountains are my big passion personally. But the reason that I've become an author, um, and the journey to that was that I've always seen myself as being really active. And yet, about 13, 14 years ago, I actually sat down and analyzed it one day. And I was just at that stage where work had kind of taken over and just become all overpowering. And I realized that I was being active, going absolutely berserk at it 2 or 3 days a week. But for 4 or 5 days a week, I was just having a totally sedentary lifestyle. And
Mm.
yet, I thought of myself as being fit, active. And I just sat down one day and I said, no, just accept it. You're not, your your work is desk based, and Monday to Friday, you're being very sedentary. Often running on a Thursday evening with the running club, but that was like the other berserk day in the week, along with the weekend. And this just coincided with a really difficult period in my life where not only was I working hard, but just having real work issues and real problems with work, and just had one redundancy facing another redundancy. And I was very down about it all. And because of that, um, you know, in small ways, nothing serious, but physical health problems.
Mm.
And that was leading to insomnia. And I just thought, you're just not very healthy at the moment. So I was feeling pretty rough about all of that. And then I saw this initiative advertised on social media one evening, and it was called the 5 by 50 Challenge. And I thought, oh, yeah, this is interesting. Let's have a read into this. And it was this initiative. It was just encouraging people in springtime. It was from I think the 30th of March to 17th of May or something like that,
Mm.
to challenge people to go those 50 days, 50 consecutive days of doing at least 5 kilometers of exercise every single day. So you could do any type of exercise you chose.
Right.
And I thought, well, that's good. And, along with my partner, we could do it together because we walk, we we run, we cycle, we canoe, we kayak, ski, and so on. So we signed up for the 5 by 50, and we managed to do it 50
Mm,
consecutive days, and we felt so much better for it. And we
yeah.
on the last day we thought, well, we can't keep it going all the time, but let's keep an element of it going. Let's not go back into that only having 2 or 3 days of going crazy. So so we did that, but then just because we hadn't put a real definite figure on it, we drifted.
Mm,
So although we went through the summer doing more exercise than before the challenge, come November, December, we were back where we'd started and just getting out 2 or 3 days a week again. But we always have this thing at Christmas, New Year, Fiona and I. We sit down between Christmas and New Year, and we go through our diary of the year about to end and analyze the year and remember the good bits and so on. And when we read through the 5 by 50 challenge, we thought that was really good. And then the next night we sit down and we'd make a plan for the next year.
mm,
So we said, right, we must put a figure on this. So we more or less worked out if we were to do on average 5 days a week, 270 days in the year of doing at least 5 kilometers. That would
yeah.
be a nice challenge for 2013.
Mm,
So that was like a New Year's resolution. We'll try to do 270 days in this year, and we'll keep a spreadsheet so we can count it up. So Fiona's figures were maybe just slightly different to mine, but anyway, my scores on the doors were I managed 19 days in January, so
right.
effectively I had 12 days off, and well, slightly behind the curve, but
Yeah.
not a
Yeah.
bad start. But a bit of a kick at the backside. In February, I managed 25 days, missed 1 or 2 days in March. By the end of March, I thought, I'm like a young bird that's been flapping its wings trying to take off.
Mm,
And hey, I'm now flying. I'm going. This is it. And I've not, here we are now in February 2024. I have not missed a single day since the 25th of March 2013.
wow. That's amazing.
So I've now got this. So in a way, by the end of 2013, the challenge changed from 270 days in the year, because I think by the end of the year we'd done something like 347 days. The challenge was overtaken, upgraded
Mm,
um, to just go as long as possible, not missing a single day of always doing at least 5 kilometers.
yeah.
So there have been days where we've just scraped over the line of five
Hmm.
kilometers. There have been other days where we've run a marathon or cycled 100 miles or whatever.
Yeah.
But here we are today on day 3,976. So day 4,000 is just around the corner.
Yeah.
But that challenge led to me thinking I could write a book about this. In fact, a few people sort of said to me, "Oh, you've got such a good thing going. You should write a book." And to start with, I thought, "Oh, don't be stupid. You know, no one wants to read about me saying, 'Look at me, look at the challenge I do.'" But then I turned it round and I thought, no, actually, the book shouldn't be about me. The book should be about the reader,
Mm,
and the book should not be about my challenge, but about the benefits of a challenge.
yeah.
Because everybody, however fit or unfit or whatever in between they are, no matter where they are on what I call the spectrum of exercise, there is a challenge that is right for you. And
Mm,
again, whatever age you are, whether you're male or female, young, old, whatever, there is a challenge at your level. And and the more I've sort of thought about this, analysed it, wrote the book, and then kept thinking about it since then, I think a lot of people make a New Year's resolution or even a resolution within the year to do more exercise.
Yeah.
How many people have said, New Year's resolution is I must do more exercise, and they go bonkers for the first week, and by about the 15th of January, it's fizzled out. And my take on that is they didn't define more. They didn't really set a
Mm.
challenge. They just said, I will do more exercise.
Mm.
And I know someone who did this a few years ago, and he basically hadn't taken any exercise for years.
Hmm.
And the first 3 days of the year, he went out for a run. And by the fourth, his legs stiffened up, his back stiffened up,
Yeah. Yeah.
and but he hadn't set a target. He hadn't even thought about walking.
Mm.
His idea of exercise was must run. And having not run for years, he did 3 consecutive days. So I've really now got deeper and deeper into my own challenge, or our challenge, because Fiona and I are still doing the challenge
Mm.
together. Um, but I just love hearing about, reading about, talking about other people's challenges. And something I've tried to put into the book is a lot of examples of challenges that people have done. And there's a lady called Agnes, who is an elderly lady in a care home, and she wanted to have one last holiday with her family before the end of her life.
Mm.
But in order to go on that holiday, she had to be able to climb 2 steps to get in and out of the caravan.
Yeah.
So she was doing steps in the care home to build up enough strength to get a sort of 87 or whatever year old body up and down these steps
Mm.
in and out of the caravan. And then you've got Sean Conway, who wrote the foreword for Find Time for Exercise.
Yeah.
And one of Sean's challenges is in the month of January, so you don't get much darker, wetter, windier, inhospitable month than January.
Mm.
And he's called his challenge the 496 challenge, which is on the 1st of January, you run 1 kilometer. On the 2nd, you run two,
Yeah.
3, 4, 5, so on. So it ramps up towards the end of the month. So on the 30th, you run 30. On the 31st, you run 31 kilometers.
Hmm.
And you add all that together, it comes to 496.
Yeah.
And what he says is, by the 9th, 10th, 11th of the month, it's easy. Because,
Mm.
you're just going for a 9, 10 kilometer run. Yeah, a lot of runners can do that.
Yeah.
But he said the sneaky thing is that by then you're in too deep.
Mm.
You've got to see it through.
Yeah.
And of course, your last few days, you've got most of your distance still to
Mm.
go. So you take those two challenges of what Agnes was doing, getting in and out of a caravan, and Sean doing 496 kilometers, or you can do miles if you want,
Mm.
in the month. You take that spectrum between those two challenges, and there is something that is right for you, as in you, John, or you, the listener, or me, Mike, with my
Yeah.
at least 5 kilometers every day.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's so powerful. I think, and that's one of the big things that people miss and don't realize, particularly when we start talking about exercise. I know just before we came on, started to press the record button, we spoke about, very briefly about, the importance of people realizing what exercise means and looks to them as an
Mm,
individual. And I think that's really, really important because I think a lot of people have got this idea of when we say the word exercise, it can come across in a variety of ways. Most of the time, it's this high, really high energy, go at it, don't stop until you feel that you can't do any more,
mm,
and we all know really where that leads, and that leads to, well, it leads to nowhere, doesn't it? It's all going to come crashing down pretty quickly, like you suggested with a friend of yours who, got into the third, fourth day, and that was that. So
mm,
that's the one thing I really love about your book, Mike, is that it really speaks to anyone at any level. So it speaks to me because I'm currently in the depths of training for a marathon. Um, I've never done a full marathon before. I've done a half marathon. So I'm kind of like trying to do things that doesn't feel great. Like, 10, 12 miles for me isn't great. But, then it also speaks to the person who's not doing anything at all at the moment. And, that's enough. If that's where you're starting from, that's where you're starting from. And I think that's such a powerful message to put out there. And I think more people need to hear that.
Yeah, I think I mean the subject of this is exercise, and actually a word I've not used yet, and I should have got this in much sooner, but I like the term regular exercise
Yeah.
because really what it is about the benefits of regular exercise.
Mm.
You can't go full at it for the whole of January and then say, well, that's a massive amount of mileage. I'm fit for the year. I can take
Yeah.
11 months off.
It doesn't work that way.
The idea of exercise is because this is where I was going wrong of just really going at it weekend warrior style for 2 or 3 days a week and being very sedentary for the rest of the week. But yes, a lot of my exercise now is walking.
Mm.
Um, but but walking is just the simplest form of exercise there is. It is free, but it is
Yeah.
the easiest form of exercise to do on a regular basis because
Yeah.
you can have a gym membership, you can have a personal trainer, you can train for a marathon, whatever it is. But walking is just the one thing you can do a bit of every single day.
Yeah. And I think walking is so overlooked when we start talking about health and improving health and well-being and general fitness levels. Because I think, and I'd like to hear what you think about this. You know, walking, yeah, it's great. Like you said, it's free. You can step out the house and you're walking. But there's so many other benefits that come with walking, just being outside being one of them, and that natural light into
Mm.
our eyes, you know. And at the moment, with the way life is, many people out there just aren't getting that natural light, are they? They're not getting the sunlight into their eyes and onto their skin, and
Mm.
and feeling the warmth of the sun, or even just the rain on their face. I think walking just has so many other benefits that a lot of people are just not taken into consideration as well.
Yeah, and I think also people do quite often see it has to be lengthy in time
Yeah.
to count. And the thing with walking is, if you've got 2 minutes with not, 2 minutes before your next thing that you need to do, you can just stand around, sit around, or look at your phone for 2 minutes. You can actually just go for a walk for 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And if you're trying to get 30 minutes of exercise a week or 150 minutes of exercise a week, those 2 minutes can count towards that. And even uh, just getting out before and after work or on a lunchtime, two 10-minute walks a day,
Mm.
and you've done 20 minutes of exercise in your day. You do that 5 days a week, that's 140 minutes.
Yeah.
And the World Health Organization and the UK Chief Medical Officer's guidelines are that adults should be taking at least 150 minutes of moderate exercise. Moderate is kind of the walking type of exercise.
Mm.
Well, if you've done 20 minutes a day for 5 days, you're only 10 minutes away and you've still got the weekend to go. You can do more than 10 minutes on a weekend.
Absolutely.
Um, but I think there is quite a lot of emphasis on reaching that 150 minutes, which, yeah, in a way, that is good guidance, and that's what we should be aiming for. But if you're only doing 20 minutes of exercise a week or only 10 minutes of exercise a week, yes, be nice to sort of get that person up to 150 minutes a week. But what my book works towards at the end of the book, the sort of concluding section really is the 10 principles. And one of them is to, it's personal in that it encourages people to do more exercise than you are doing now.
Mm,
So if someone's doing 20 minutes of exercise and reading my book or listening to me on a podcast or whatever, just gets them to think and increase to 30 or 40 minutes of exercise. Well, that person, that individual is doing more than they were doing before.
absolutely.
And that's got to be a good thing if they manage to squeeze that walk
Definitely.
or
That's for me, that's a huge win, Mike, because then when you've got that incremental improvement there, like taking 20 minutes to 30 minutes of, regular exercise per week, you're also bringing in something that's manageable, maintainable, and most likely it's going to stick. You're going to recover, you're going to be able to recover from it. And, one thing I talk to a lot of my clients about is when we're talking about intensities and wanting to bring things in, I always refer back to yes, but is it sustainable? Are you able to do it over a period of time? Because you're only going to really see physically, those adaptations if we're able to maintain it. And that's not to say that we're not going to have bad weeks or bad days or even bad months. That's a part of life. But I think having an honest conversation with yourself is like, is this manageable? Can I do this from where I'm currently at? And if you've gone from 20 minutes to 30 minutes across the week and you've maintained that for a couple of weeks, then pushing that to 40 minutes is is now manageable. You're in a completely different ballpark now. So I think that's one of the biggest things. And again, it's one thing that you speak about in the book and allude to is, are you able to maintain it? Is it manageable? Can you recover from it? Because everyone still wants to get on with their day or needs to get on with their day. Everyone's got families and needs to get up in the morning and not feel like they can't move and do all of those things. So I think that's one of the biggest questions we need to ask ourselves, when we're introducing something. Is it manageable? Um, the other thing I was going to ask you here, Mike, anyone that's listening to this or watching this, and they aren't doing anything at the moment, or they're really struggling to get going. They've even tried January, New Year's resolutions, and we know they don't really work, but they've tried it and they just can't get going and they really want to do it. Why do you feel people need to do this? What are the benefits of being able to create time to exercise on a daily basis? Why should they do something?
yeah, there's so many statistics on the health benefits of regular exercise. And I think the good thing is that it exercise is kind of the medicine that can improve physical and mental health. And it is just that, just moving your body, getting your blood flowing, getting your heart rate up, getting your breathing
Mm,
increased. And again, it's sort of people can hear that and think, oh yeah, it's all about getting out of breath. No, it's 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 for you at your level and just making that increase. But at the moment, some of the statistics, 1 in 6 deaths in the UK are attributed to sedentary lifestyles,
mm,
physical inactivity, um, and the factors that inactivity can lead to in terms of excess weight and depression, heart disease, and so on. And I follow a number of doctors and so on Twitter, and the number one thing they all say is that the best thing you can do in terms of looking after yourself, um, extending your life, improving your longevity prospects, because
mm,
sadly there are no guarantees, but the chances are that high probability that you will extend your life span and your health span because
mm.
it's not just about living longer, it's living longer in a healthy
Yeah.
state. Um, and the number one thing you can do for that is to become more active
Mm,
on a regular basis. And I think also, we were talking about the word exercise before, and I was sort of liking to put the word regular before it. And I do see, that some people just do not like the word exercise. And I think it's almost sort of exercise slash movement, because if you
mm,
like the word exercise, then fine, use that word. If you're if you prefer to think of it as movement, because I do sort of see my forms of exercise as being running and walking and
mm,
cycling, but also gardening, chopping logs, doing vigorous housework.
hmm.
They're all good forms
All
of.
matters, all counts.
And I saw another piece of research recently which went into the percentage of people who are taking sufficient exercise and are taking enough exercise, but whether they want to or not. And actually, 4% of people aren't bothered whether or not they do take enough exercise, but they are taking enough exercise,
Mm,
because a lot of people in that 4% are working in sectors where their jobs are just so active. They're not sitting at a desk having a sedentary lifestyle.
yeah.
They're throwing bricks and breeze blocks around a building site, or they're chasing animals around a field, or
Mm,
whatever it is.
mm,
So, although they've got no interest in exercise, they've actually got a very active lifestyle,
yeah.
and it's being very good for them.
Yeah.
But it is just a lot of these things that people can think about,
Yeah.
and as much as there are still jobs for people chasing animals around fields and working on building sites, the trend in our lifetimes has been towards sitting looking at a screen,
Mm.
generally sitting on your backside.
Yeah, and I think it's only getting worse. I think this is why it's so important now. And I think it's we've got a few areas that people are really struggling with now. So the one that you've alluded to already, Mike, is that sedentary lifestyle, whether they're at home, they don't do much at home, but then when they go to work, they're, getting in the car, transport on a bus or something, and then they're in a seated position for large portions of the day. There's that. But then
Yeah,
we've got also then got the tech aspect. So, always having something to get hold of you. So whether that's emails, phone calls, social media, whatever it may be, maybe phones, laptops, TVs, iPads. We're completely on technology all the time, and it's having a detrimental effect on our life. And I then think all of that, as well as the whole processed foods aspect as well, and increasing um, in day-to-day life. And then also then that's all going to have an impact on your sleep. Um,
yeah,
so we're in this kind of just, real weird time where we've got so many things that are coming into our life and having a negative effect on our physical health, but also our mental health as well. And I think, when we talk about exercise or movement, whatever that may be, it's a great opportunity to pull you away from those things, pull you away from obviously being sedentary, sitting down, but also technology. It can also improve your sleep. It can also make you and help you make better decisions around your food. So it's almost, I don't know if you agree here, it can be the catalyst for many other positive habits to be formed as well.
yeah. I think if you if you set yourself a physical exercise challenge, which is the basis of my message, what I'm trying to get people to do, you do just start thinking in terms of little challenges here and there, because you can have one sort of, like I do, have your sort of overarching long-term challenge that you work towards.
Mm,
But I just have lots of other little ones, like I go out for a walk and I just sort of, there's just, just the cheeky wee lad in my head just says, walk as fast as you can to the next lamppost, and suddenly
Yeah.
I'm sort of going like a race walker with my arms swinging and my hips swinging like a duck.
Yeah.
Um, but just that sort of 40-meter dash to the next lamppost just gets your heart rate up, gets your
Mm,
breathing going, and it's just a bit of fun,
mm,
but it is just giving you that extra bit of exercise. And the other thing with the um, World Health Organization guidelines, this 150 minutes of vigorous exercise or 150 minutes of easy exercise or moderate exercise or
mm,
75 minutes of vigorous exercise. But the line after that is to do muscle strengthening exercise twice a week,
mm,
which basically means, just sort of lifting some kind of weight. Well, yeah, we can all go to a sports shop and buy some weights, but equally, when you're carrying the shopping into your house, you can't, before you put it down, you can just sort of use it as dumbbells or whatever, just sort of
mm.
do a quick
Yeah.
10-15 second gym exercise.
Mm,
It's just that imagination thing, just to see something as an opportunity
mm,
to lift a weight, to give your arms that bit of exercise. And it is just a tiny thing, but it is just building that more resilient, stronger body that is likely to keep healthy for longer and ultimately live longer. And another phrase that I saw somewhere where was the greatest gift you can give the world and your loved ones is a healthy you.
mm, mm,
So, when you start to think about it, it isn't actually just for you that you're doing this. If you take on a challenge and
mm.
you build more exercise into your life, you're actually, by producing a healthier you, you're contributing to your family, less likely to have time off work, and you're more likely to be able to
Yeah.
support your loved ones by doing that.
Yeah, I think that's so powerful as well because I talk about this a lot with clients, you know, particularly with young families. Kids pick things up really, really quickly. Because they're like a sponge, aren't they? So if they can see mom or dad or both making subtle changes to food, being out the house most evenings and weekends, that leaves its mark. So that really is very, very powerful for a young family to do because that becomes the norm. So those
Yeah.
children will no have no alternative other than, well, that's just what we do. That's how we eat. That's how we move daily. We're always outside. That's just normal. And I think it's alluding again to what you just said there with it's not just for you, but it's for the immediate people around you. And that's so powerful. And I think if someone's really struggling to get up and get going and get into the swing of things, that surely must really motivate you to make a difference and to do something for the right reasons.
Yeah, I think so. And I think it is just, if people are wondering where to start, oh yeah, this all sounds very good, but where do I start? I think,
Mm,
one way is just to, well, in terms of setting yourself a challenge, is one, yes, use your imagination, but I think that the second thing is just start off very simple.
mm,
Just getting out for 2 or 5 minute walks is just changes your mindset into,
mm.
oh, one of the things I could do in the next few minutes is just get outside and go for a walk. And yeah, I think walks before work, especially, because of the pandemic, so many people now work from home either all
Mm.
the time or some of the time. And I think it's a good practice to, if you're working from home, never to start work without having been outdoors.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I often say just leave home, walk for 5 minutes, turn round and walk 5 minutes to work,
Mm.
because it does that. It replaces the commute, it's sort of hashtag home commute.
Mm,
of it's that traditional thing of you leave home and you arrive at work.
mm,
And well, if you don't even get out of your dressing gown and you go to the toilet, have breakfast, and then slump in front of the computer, you've had no natural light in your eyes, you've had no
mm,
fresh air in your lungs, and you're probably still half asleep. And yet
mm.
there's a boss man or woman somewhere who's expecting you to perform well, and
Yeah.
he's still half asleep. And actually,
Mm,
on that, I recently heard there'd been some study in Japan that showed a 10-minute walk can improve your blood pressure by, I think it was something like 12%.
mm,
So a lot of enlightened employers now in Japan are insisting that you walk for at least 10 minutes before
mm,
you start work.
mm.
And well, there's a lesson there, and there's an idea that we can all take on board.
Oh yeah.
So these days, I work from home, but I always walk at least a kilometer and more often 2 kilometers before starting. And
Yeah.
yeah, just so ready for the day then.
Yeah, I think it harps back that moving your body in the morning really harps back to how we've survived, doesn't it? And it really speaks to me because, we had to at dawn, we woke up, we got up, we got out of the cave and we had to go and forage and find and survive and, take action to survive. And yeah, that helped us to survive all those millions of years, so how we are here now. So I think it's so important that we still have that, yes, we don't have to go out and hunt anymore and forage, but at least get up and
Mm.
go and move your body at whatever level that may be, because you are really doing what you're supposed to, your body is asking from you and your brain is asking from you is when you wake up, go and move your body. And particularly, I know it's difficult in the winter months, but whenever possible, you need to get outside and if it's walk down the road and back or go in the park with the dog or whatever it may be. I think that just, I know for me, it makes a huge difference. I'm more clear, more focused. I can concentrate a hell of a lot better, more productive, get better ideas, all of that kind of stuff, when you move your body in the morning.
Yeah, and I was speaking to someone late last year who had was giving a presentation and had a slide up, and it showed that these problems are most acute in the wealthiest nations
Mm,
of the world
mm,
because we're the ones that have the cars, um, and basically everywhere you go, chairs, and as soon as you go in somewhere, oh, there's a
yeah,
chair, and you, in terms of our food, well, hunting and gathering is twice a week to your nearest supermarket.
yeah,
Um, and yet in you sort of go down the league table of wealthy nations, and at the other end of the spectrum are the places where people are still sort of chasing animals.
mm,
There might not be the hospitals and the healthcare system that we've got,
mm,
um, but people do have an active lifestyle. So we're sort of into that mentality now of labor saving devices and
mm.
um, not having to be active, but then an expectation that when your body lets you down, somebody somewhere will get it back together again.
Yeah, yeah. Well, there's this whole thing, isn't there? We've got the blue zones around the world, and they are in those, a lot of them are in those parts of the world where there is no health service. Um, it's very, really, really tough, but we've got more and more centenarians in those blue zones. Um, and that's through a whole host of things, isn't it? One, they have to move every single day. They probably walk for miles to forage and find and hunt, or farm. They're all digging. They're probably walking up and down hills a lot of the time.
Mm.
They're eating from the ground or out the oceans that are surrounding them, you know. And then there's us. over this end, leading this very sedentary, plugged in lifestyle that is having such a adverse effects. And I obviously work in education as well, and I'm seeing it at a very worrying rate, obviously with the younger generation, where they've been brought into this world with all of this stuff here. So I'm very lucky, and you're very lucky, Mike, that we were brought into a world at an age that we didn't have all of this technology. We're more likely to move a lot more, go out, get outside. If you were bored, you went and did something, you made something up, you created something. And it's very, very worrying that these generations now haven't got those skills and they've not got the awareness. So they all lead very sedentary lifestyles. They don't sleep very well. They don't eat very well. And they all like being in the dark, which is a weird one. So like I go into
Yeah.
classrooms and they're all sitting with the lights off. But I think that's which is really worrying. But I think that is they're just not well rested. They're not well rested, and they just don't want to be in the sunlight. They want to be back in bed, which is really, really worrying. And again, which is why I think the work that you're doing and books like this are so, so important. I wanted to ask you, Mike, I want to paint a picture and see if you can help us with this. Let's say we've got a father, three kids, um, in a high profile job position, got a lot going on, a lot of stresses from work, obviously trying to manage at home, not got much free time at all. Um, and they're very aware that they want to build better habits for their children and the people around. What would you say to that individual?
Yes, I think for parents, there is this sort of being a good role model, um, because you said it a few minutes ago of kids are like sponges that they just see what's around them and absorb it, but they absorb it as, however you grew up, that is normal.
Mm,
And for a lot of, well, for every kid, it's only when you kind of grow up you think, oh God, not everyone had the same upbringing that
yeah.
I had. Um, but I think, however busy you are with your job, with your lifestyle, you should be you should be as active as you can be, because the whole of my book is written on the basis of the quote from the 19th century British Prime Minister Edward Smith Stanley, who said, "Those who do not find time for exercise will have to find time for illness."
Mm,
And so I'll come back to the man and his three kids in a minute, but I think, if you work on that basis, then if you're saying you don't have time for exercise, are you also telling me you don't have time for illness? Are you
mm,
telling me that if you wake up one morning and you've got some worrying symptoms, that you'll be too busy to go to the doctor, you'll be too busy to go to the hospital for some tests, x-rays, you'll be too busy
mm,
for time in hospital for an operation and time off work afterwards? I'm pretty sure that in that kind of scenario, you would have time for illness.
mm,
So therefore, why not invest a fraction of that time on exercise in order to hopefully, because as I said before, there's never any guarantees in this world, but you are in vastly improving your chances of not having that illness in the first place. So I think to see the reason for taking regular exercise, to set a challenge, to let your kid absorb the fact that you get out for walks, and then help them in their way, at their level, at their age, to help them set um, their wee challenges, so that um, they sort of think, well, I'm going to walk at least 5 kilometers a week,
mm,
or I'm going to do this exercise 3 times a week or whatever it is. And I suppose kids are developing so fast, they'll probably want to, if they get into that mentality of having a little challenge to aim for, they'll probably need to upgrade it every year because
Yeah.
they're growing so fast. And oh God,
Mm,
a year ago I set myself this challenge, and that's now so easy that
mm,
I can run more or cycle more or whatever. Um, but because when I was at junior school, I was really close to the school, um, so I biked there most days. Well, a kid that's in that position could just set a challenge of within the academic year, I'm going to cycle to school at least 100 times. So
mm, mm,
just picking off on the calendar or diary or whatever. But
mm,
I often say it's just putting a number on it.
mm,
Um, and kids, whether it's if they're particularly athletic, I want to run 100 meters in under whatever seconds by the end of the year. But it can just be sort of distance of walking or number of walks or number of steps, or time spent taking exercise. Set yourself a challenge of
mm,
however many minutes a week.
mm,
Um, and when I was young, it was just out every evening, even in the middle of winter in the dark with
mm,
one outside light. But I'd be playing football outdoors at
mm.
7 o'clock on a January evening, and it was dark, it was icy. If
Yeah.
I'd counted up the number of minutes of exercise a week back then,
Mm,
it would have been a massive amount. But
mm,
I think these days, um, even more so, we need to challenge ourselves. And I think the best, well, not, yeah, I think the best way, but certainly one way. It's not the answer for everybody, but
mm.
one way of doing that is to stick a number on it. Come up
Yeah.
with a challenge with a number, because it's that old thing of smart targets. It's measurable, it's attainable. You know when you've got there. You know when
Yeah.
you've
No,
achieved it.
that's great, Mike. I think it's very, very powerful stuff, and I think it's it's setting the scene for generations to come. That's where the real power is. The power is there for yourself to make a change, but then also if you can have a positive impact on younger generations for them to be aware of this and building that awareness up, I think it's really powerful. And we at the start of the conversation we said people are living for longer, but the quality of life is shortening. We're getting a hell of a lot more people in nursing homes for a younger age, a lot more ailments from an earlier
Mm,
age, and just lowering that life happiness, if that's what you
yeah.
want to call it.
Mm,
And I think building this awareness up and understanding that, this is achievable, it's manageable at wherever level you're coming at. I think that's very, very powerful stuff. Mike, thank you very much for our conversation today. I'm still reading the book, so I'm going to keep you updated. I'm loving already what I'm reading. It's fantastic. I love how it's in the principles and everything. It's really lovely laid out. Some great stories to come. I'm sure of it in here. So I'm looking forward to those. So great book. Where can people pick this book up? Where can they find a bit more about what you do and the book?
yeah. You can order it from my own website, which is findtimeforexercise.com. But it is available at all the usual online retailers. So you can go on to Amazon, Waterstones. I've forgotten the name of the other bookshops, but WH Smith, they've
Yeah,
all got it on
they've all got it.
online. And it is available as an ebook as well. So if
Oh, great.
anyone is into ebook rather than paperback, then you can get it through the usual ones there. There is uh, 3 links to the 3 different ebook platforms on my website. So go to the homepage and follow those links through. And then at some point over the next 2 to 3 months, I'm going to have a new product which is going to be a sort of um, working directly with me. So at the moment it is just a book, but I'm going to have a sort of one-to-one mentoring system. So you can go to my
Fantastic.
website, subscribe, and I will then let you know when that service is going to be available.
Fantastic.
So
That sounds brilliant, Mike. Yeah, looking forward to seeing that. That's great. Thanks again. I'll put all those links as well, guys, into the show notes to check out and get the book. But thanks again, Mike, for taking the time out. And I look forward to doing this again at some point, when we've set new challenges for ourselves. And yeah, look forward to it.
we'll do. No, we'll speak again sometime. That'll be great. And thanks for this opportunity.
Cheers, Mike.